So let me get this straight. You've earned your law degree from Harvard.
Yes.
You've flown 44 combat missions in Vietnam.
A long time ago, yes.
You have your PhD.
Yes.
And you're a playwright.
More or less, yes.
Why are you wasting your time with baseball?
Because this is what I love.
This is J.D. Droddy. Droddy was a manager in the independent Pecos League from 2014 to 2017. During that period of time, he was perhaps the single most interesting man in baseball. I first came upon Droddy's story a few weeks ago when a viewer by the name of DJ Pez left this comment under one of my videos, recommending that I check out a team called the Salina Stockade. Now I, like many of you I'm sure, had never heard of this team before, so to Google I went, where I learned a few things. 1. Salina is a town in Kansas, known for frozen pizza, batteries, and aviation, located in what is nearly the exact center of the continental United States. 2. The Stockade, named after a fortified barrier that protected the town in the mid-19th century, were only recently formed, coming into existence in 2016. 3. If the title of this article, one of the scant few sources of information about the ball club, is to be believed, the 2017 Salina Stockade were the worst team in all of professional baseball. Upon reading this, immediately I thought to myself, well, that seems a bit harsh. So I did some digging. Here's what I found. Before we get into the Stockade story, we first need to take a step back to talk about independent baseball. Unlike affiliated ball, which is what we typically talk about when we talk about the minor leagues, independent leagues operate separate from major league teams, allowing them greater freedom in aspects like geographic location. For example, while an affiliated minor league team may be restricted from playing too close to a major league market, independent teams have no such limitations. For this reason, among others, independent leagues were once known as outlaw leagues, for their position outside the realm of affiliated baseball. That isn't to say that independent leagues are all somehow worse than affiliated leagues. At one time or another, independent clubs have rostered a number of marquee players, including Jose Canseco, Darryl Strawberry, and Ricky Henderson. Similar to affiliated ball, indie leagues have a hierarchy. In early 2017, Baseball Prospectus co-founder Clay Davenport calculated the relative strength of the major professional leagues. As expected, the National and American Leagues sat at the top, with strength scores of 1,000 and 1107 respectively. Of the established independent leagues, the Atlantic League was the strongest, with a score of 644. This put it on par with high-level affiliated ball, like the AA Texas League. At the very bottom of this ranking, with a strength score of only 245, sits the lowly Pecos League. Established in 2011, the Pecos League is the world's lowest-level professional circuit, made up of 12 teams that play throughout the southwest United States. It is sparsely attended and grossly underfunded, the weakest of the major professional baseball leagues. Which brings us to the Stockade. On the eve of the 2017 season, Miles Wolff, commissioner of the American Association of Independent Professional Baseball, called up Pecos League Commissioner Andrew Dunn with a problem. Earlier that day, the Laredo Lemurs had dropped out of the league amid a battle between the team's owner and the city. As a result, the American Association was going to have to figure out a way to replace an entire baseball team in the span of only 2 weeks. Upon hearing this, Dunn had an idea: promote the Pecos League caliber Salina Stockade to the American Association, giving the team's 30 players the opportunity to play baseball at a level many of them had never experienced before. For context, the minor league equivalent of this move would be like going from short season Class A to AAA, a jump that usually takes players years to make, if they ever even make it at all. It was a bold plan, with some minor obstacles. To start, the Stockade didn't technically exist at the time. See, the previous year, Dunn had first formed a team called the Stockade for scheduling purposes, which finished with a respectable 29-36 record over the course of the 2016 season. That winter, spurred by the folding of neighboring franchises and the departure of most of its players, the team was disbanded. Because of this, Dunn had to get to work recruiting if he was going to come up with a team on time. He started by calling up J.D. Droddy. Droddy had been a volunteer player host during the Pecos League's inaugural season in 2011, before being brought on as the assistant coach of the Trinidad Triggers the following year. He took over the manager position in 2014 before retiring the next year, only to be lured out of retirement by Dunn in 2016 to manage the newly formed Tucson Saguaros, with whom he won the league championship. It was a career-defining accomplishment for Dradi, made all the more impressive by the fact that up until he backed into a coaching position in his late 60s, he had never played above Little League or run a team at any level, never mind professionally. Dradi had served in the Air Force as a young man, flying a total of 44 combat missions in Vietnam before leaving after 20 years to pursue a degree in law. He earned his JD from Harvard, becoming a commercial litigator for a time. After tiring of practicing law, he then worked as a professor at Western Kentucky University and a school administrator at Vermilion Community College. During this time, he was also the president of a musical theater company, in addition to being a self-taught musician and playwright. Altogether, Dradi is in possession of one of the most unique backgrounds of anybody in professional baseball. So it would have been perfectly understandable for a 73-year-old with that much life experience under his belt to turn down an offer to manage what was sure to be a disaster of a team in favor of a peaceful retirement at his home in Colorado Springs. But not JD Dradi, because for all of the struggle, and despite the meager salary, there is one thing that drove Dradi: the players. It's about these young guys who have a dream to play professional baseball as high as they can get, he said. And on this team especially, these are guys who nobody ever gave an opportunity to, where they got released after not much of an opportunity, and they want to show that they can perform. So with Dradi on board, he and Dunn got to work filling the Stockade roster. Before they could even begin looking for players, budget limitations meant that they were forced to pay less than the league minimum of $800 per month. Consequently, the vast majority of the team was made up of players imported from the Pecos League, who had either previously played for or against Dradi. By the time the roster was completed, the Stockade were left with only 3 days for spring training. For the Salina Stockade, it was a victory just to be on the field by opening day. It was also one of the only victories they would have that season. From the very beginning, it was obvious that things were going to be difficult, but by the end of the season, it was undeniable that the 2017 Salina Stockade were nothing short of an unmitigated disaster. Their record of 18-82 left them with a minuscule winning percentage of 180. This was not only good for the worst record by far of any team in 2017, it was the 8th worst record of any professional baseball team in history. You heard that right. The 2017 Salina Stockade were a mere 5 losses away from matching the 1899 Cleveland Spiders, a team so notoriously bad that it nearly destroyed the National League. But it wasn't entirely the Stockade's fault. In addition to their slapdash construction and lack of funds, they were, for all intents and purposes, without a home. Yes, technically they had a quote-unquote home field at the 26-year-old Dean Evans Stadium, shown here. However, in large part due to the fact that all but one of their opponents outright refused to play at Dean Evans, claiming that it failed to meet American Association standards, the Stockade played only 7 games in Salina. On top of that, even when they did play at home, they were never actually the home team. They were the visitors for every single one of their 100 scheduled games, complete strangers to the concept of a home field advantage. Nevertheless, when asked how they felt about the season, many of the Stockade's players retained a positive outlook, for one simple reason: every game they played was a chance to be seen. "It's pretty much a showcase every time we go out there," said closer Tyler Hare, "to try to win for the team and also for your career. I get to face the best of the best, ex-big leaguers, ex-AA, AAA guys. All the managers get to see you, so if you're doing well against them, you just never know what can happen for next year." And that's really what it's all about, because for as much as they might fantasize about one day reaching the show, these players are well aware of the harsh reality that the odds of that happening are vanishingly small. They know that each one of them will, at one point or another, have to face the fact that their days playing the game they love are finally over. But for now, as long as they have the chance to play, they have a chance to be seen. And as long as they have that, they have a chance to see another day.